In Metropolis, tourists check out the Justice League's watchtower, and a cheeky man proudly shows it off to his family. The son hopes to see the heroes, but his dad shuts down the possibility of it happening. Meanwhile, in the training room, Micron dodges a robot's laser shots, closes the distance between them, and knocks it down magnificently. He grabs its head and it acknowledges his win record, but the emergency alarms soon go off, and he leaves immediately. Micron leaps out of the massive room and informs the Justice League from the control room. He notifies them about the monorail that's out of control and quickly swings into action to save the day. Hoping to escape the impending doom, the monorail driver decides to jump off after confirming that the control panel is cooked. He then opens the emergency exit but sees the Walmart Ant-Man flying towards him. Micron returns to his normal size, grabs the driver, and jumps off. After saving him, the driver notifies him about the potential rail accident the empty vehicle could cause, and he immediately returns to the monorail. Since there's no time to spare, Micron presses all the emergency buttons and swerves the vehicle off the rail before it runs into the oncoming one. Unfortunately for him, a force field stops him from exiting the monorail, and it crashes into a building, leaving him in a sorry state. In Gotham City, a jet breaks out of the Military Research and Development building, and Batman chases after it while a bystander watches it unfold. Batman guesses what Inc. is after, which Bruce attests to, and then decides not to let her have her way. He shoots a device at her vehicle, which sabotages its control system, and it crashes into a river. Inc. jumps out and shapeshifts into some seals. It manages to deceive Batman for a short while, but he discovers her and tries to defeat her. Inc. smacks him into the river and takes the bystander hostage, wrapping him up like Mr. Fantastic. Seeing how adamant he is, she threatens to squeeze the hostage like a candy wrap, but the hostage tells Batman that he'd take it from there. The Aura Farmer spins Inc. off intensively and stomps on her before she can recover, and Batman discovers that it's Superman. Later that day, Batman brings Superman back to the Batcave, where he meets Bruce. They unpleasantly exchange pleasantries, and Bruce cuts off the chit-chat, guessing that Superman has an ulterior motive for coming to Gotham. Superman confesses his intention to bring Batman into the Justice League, but contrary to Bruce's guess that he's using him to replace Micron, Superman acknowledges his improvement and claims that it's his time. Bruce then leaves the decision to Batman. Disappointed that Superman didn't consult them before bringing the new member, some members of the Justice League disagree with his decision, but the tyrannical leader shuts down the discussion and declares that Batman stays. Just then, the members walk off, and Warhawk leaves Batman with a friendly warning before leaving. Batman wonders if he made a mistake, but Superman is optimistic because he needs a trustworthy person. Shortly after, Superman brings Batman to the recovery room to see Micron, who's still unconscious. Revealing that it wasn't an accident, Superman guesses that it is an insider's job and shows Batman the chip that sabotaged the monorail. He explains what it is, and Batman realizes that he's going to be a member of the Spy X family soon. Hoping to start his new job successfully, Batman checks out the data of the Justice League members, but Aquagirl soon interrupts him. She introduces herself and encourages him as he complains about the overwhelming situation. He then turns down her invitation to swim and continues watching the other members train after she leaves the room. Being new to the job, he tells Bruce he can't do it, but soon realizes that something is off with Aquagirl. He rushes to her training tank and struggles with the controls, but it's futile while Aquagirl watches helplessly until she loses consciousness. He uses some explosives on the door, but it is ineffective, and without wasting any second, he rushes to Barda and Warhawk's training room and grabs Barda's weapon. The duo chase after him, but he uses it to blow a large hole into the water tank and swiftly saves Aquagirl. Barda then confronts the weapon thief, but Aquagirl clears the air and notes that it's not his fault. Even after saving the day, Barda still makes him look like the bad guy and leaves with the victim after asking unnecessary questions. Moments later, Superman meets Batman while he checks out the issue with the tank's controller, and he discovers the burnt microcontroller. Superman concludes that it was sabotaged while also confirming that a traitor is among them. Later that night, Batman patrols the city and complains to Bruce about his haters in the League. Just then, the emergency alert goes off and several explosions occur around the city. The tourists get caught in some of it, but they celebrate as soon as they confirm the arrival of the Justice League. As if things couldn't get worse, a ship takes on the Titanic sinking pose, and Cargo almost crushes a sailor while he helps someone else, but Superman saves them. Barda confirms that the whole city is under attack, and Superman checks around to find the instigator, but it's futile. The Justice League swiftly saves the citizens while the explosions continue in quick succession. Aquagirl helps the drowning victims while Superman amends their ship and lifts it back to the shore. He notices a skyscraper falling and quickly does the heavy lifting while Barda and Warhawk save the falling victims. Barda holds down the building to aid evacuation, and Superman orders Batman to work with Warhawk. The evacuation team then moves the victims waiting on the roof, but an explosion occurs, which causes one of the vehicles to lose control. Warhawk prevents its crash, and Batman saves the two victims left behind on the roof. After settling the victims, Warhawk arrogantly acknowledges Batman and decides to follow a signal of an emergency call on the League's frequency. He tells Batman to stay behind and flies off, but the pesky Bat hero still tags along because he didn't receive any signal. They notice a missile approaching, and Warhawk immediately goes into full armor mode and forcefully swerves the projectile's direction. Out of nowhere, the missile explodes, and Warhawk's helmet bashes Batjet's windshield, which causes him to crash. He gets out and hands the helmet to Aquagirl, who breaks down because of Warhawk's sacrifice. Barda arrives with Green Lantern and immediately questions Batman, who explains the situation to them. She still didn't take him at his word, but Superman arrives and stops the unwarranted accusations. At the Batcave, Bruce checks out footage of Warhawk's demise with Batman and discovers that it was detonated from a remote position, but after further inspections and analysis, they realize that the perpetrator is Superman. Batman decides to go warn the others, but Bruce helps with his preparations. He notes that it wasn't Superman's first rogue moment and hands him a kryptonite. Batman claims it could kill Superman, but Bruce orders him to do whatever it takes to stop him. At Justice League Tower, Batman shows the footage revealing the perpetrator to the other members of the League, but Barda doesn't believe it. She insists that it's fabricated and accuses him, but he loses it all and insults the pig-headed dunce. However, it pisses her off, and she punches him in the face, but Green Lantern stops her from beating him into a block of meat. Warhawk then enters the room and also tells Barda to calm down. He explains why he didn't kick the bucket, which is because he was controlling his armor remotely, and narrates his reason for doing so. They decide to confront Superman, and Barda suggests they give him a chance to explain himself, but Warhawk has other plans. The members exit the room, and Batman checks on the kryptonite in his possession. On the other hand, Superman checks on Micron, and the others barge into the room demanding answers. Barda stops Warhawk from acting impulsively, and Aquagirl asks what he intended to do to Micron before they entered. Superman says some BS, which the others counter, and he declares that a traitor is among them, which is why he brought Batman in. Batman acknowledges his words but claims he isn't innocent, and he realizes what's going on. He declares that they're all traitor, but Barda and others try to help him with whatever he's going through. From nowhere, a creature reveals itself as it moves around inside his suit, and it makes him go rogue. Green Lantern parries his laser attack, and it knocks some rubble off the roof, which crushes Superman in a boomerang effect. He pushes them off and starts to hand them their asses, beginning with Warhawk. He uses Warhawk as a meat shield to block Barda's attacks, and throws him at them like a bowling ball, knocking down Barda and Green Lantern. He does some more heavy lifting and throws a large object at the others, but Aquagirl helps Batman dodge the danger. Just then, Micron grabs Superman out of nowhere in his humongous mode, but receives an intensive ass whooping till he shrinks back to his normal size. Batman secures the kryptonite case while the others work together to stop Superman, but he still escapes. After the chaotic battle, Aquagirl puts Micron back in the recovery tank while Barda tends to Warhawk's injuries. He blames the mess on the creature on Superman's chest, while Batman tells Bruce how he hesitated to use the kryptonite. There's no sighting of Superman anywhere, and Green Lantern guesses that he retreated to his fortress, but they don't know its location. Batman then pitches in and claims he knows who can help. A while later, a warp gate opens in Superman's fortress, and the League members jump out of it. Seeing that he's not there, they guess it's a trap, but still infiltrate the place further to find him. Batman sees a dangerous creature through a transparent wall and wonders what it is, but Aquagirl suggests the place is a zoo. Before she could recall what Superman told her about his fortress, Barda calls their attention to an open section, and they deliberate if something got out from there. Soon after, Superman arrives, and Warhawk swiftly springs into action, but discovers that it's a robot silhouette of Superman after defeating it. 2 more clones attack them, but Barda destroys them with laser shots. Another Superman appears, and Batman attacks him, but he catches his wire and effortlessly pulls down the weakling. Realizing that it's the real Superman, Batman takes out the kryptonite, and it immediately nerfs him until he loses consciousness. Warhawk acknowledges Batman's efforts and suggests ending Superman's miserable life, but Aquagirl refutes the idea. She takes off his shirt to check the thing on his chest, but they have no idea what it is. Just then, Batman stops Aquagirl from touching, but she insists on doing so because only she can read its memory. She touches it and begins to narrate the creature's past, back when it was on its planet and how a strange ship took it away from there. Unfortunately for the creature, it is abducted by a collector who keeps myriads of entities and is too weak to fight back. Years later, the greedy intergalactic kidnapper takes in Superman, who's too strong for him. Superman defeats him and decides to bring the creatures to his fortress, since he couldn't return them to their world. On seeing Superman's strength, the creature thirsts after it and creates a plan to take over his body. Aquagirl notes that it has taken over him for years and has a bigger plan, which is to take over the world. What caught their surprise is the discovery of more parasitic creatures like it and how it intends to achieve its goals. As if things couldn't get worse, some of the creatures stealthily attach themselves to the League members just as they plan to destroy them. At the last moment, Batman's suit luckily zaps the creature off him, but the others aren't that lucky. The kryptonite falls from Green Lantern's control, but Barda grabs it and throws it into the roof before Batman can get it. Superman recovers, and all the possessed heroes gang up on him, but he begs them to fight it. Realizing that it's useless, he uses a blinding light device to escape and breaks out into the snowy open world, but Superman's still on his trail. Thankfully, his jet arrives, and he launches himself into it while avoiding laser attacks. He then appreciates Bruce's help and briefs him about his current situation. Bruce suggests contacting the military, but the idea of bombing the heroes doesn't sit well with Batman. He makes an inquiry about the vehicle's top speed and continues to dodge Superman's laser attacks. He counters with a missile, but Superman effortlessly tanks the attack and comes out unharmed. Surprisingly, he grabs the jet while he cuts off one of the wings, and it crashes. Superman asks him to join them, but Batman, who has an ulterior motive, rejects the offer and activates an attack that electrocutes Superman. It fries his brain like the Thanksgiving turkey and frees him from mind control, which allows him to rip the creature off. He then collapses, and Batman helps him up after confirming that he's back to normal. Superman asks about the situation, but Batman decides to explain as they return and asks if he could still fly. While all these go on, Aquagirl updates the others about their mission's progress, but Superman interrupts them, carrying Batman on his shoulder. They intend to make Batman one of them, but Green Lantern notices that something isn't right. Before he reveals his hunch, the duo charges at them and knocks the parasitic creatures off them one by one. Batman jumps into the water and chases after Aquagirl, but many of these creatures bombard him. However, Superman suppresses Warhawk and saves him from mind control while also shooting down the creatures aiming for him. Aquagirl opens the gate under the water, and Superman begins to destroy the areas around it to block it. Barda asks about Batman, but Superman continues and notes that Batman knows what he signed up for. On the other hand, Batman zaps all the creatures around him and immediately stops Aquagirl. With the aid of the large rock sinking in, Batman defeats her and rushes her out of the water, where Superman shoots the creature off her. They gather all the creatures, and with Aquagirl's help, they return them to their planet. Shortly after, Warhawk and the other members acknowledge Batman and welcome him, but he decides to take the same part-timer route as the former Batman. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.